Deckteching blue-white control in Scar's Mirrored and Block constructed. So this deck is pretty fantastic in my opinion, compared to all the decks in Scar's Mirrored and Block constructed. The main enemy is, of course, White Weenie, Tempered Steel deck, Hawkward as it's been known in Standard. Your matchup game 1 is not the greatest. I'd say it's probably in the 40s. At the same time, it's not an auto last. Divine Offering goes a long way in buying you time. Dismember deals with Hero Blade Hold, or can deal with early threats depending on how things turn out. So your removal package is Steel Sabotage, which is usually a counterspell, but it's sometimes a removal. Disperse, which is not the greatest, but it's a catch-all. You can balance Tempered Steel through an opportune time. There's a lot of things you can do with it. Divine Offering, which is just fantastic against them. Dismember kills most any creature in the format. It does not kill Consecrated Sphinx and Shieldred of note, but beyond that it kills most everything. Elspeth Tyrael is a great way to suture the game up, sew things up once you've established a bit of board position. Creating tokens and gaining life each turn, just great way to do things. You can also ultimate. The ultimate is really good against a lot of decks, so it's something to watch out for, something that you can use very well. I really like Elspeth in this deck. Volition Reigns is there against the decks that are trying to go big against you, other blue decks, other control decks, so it's just a beating in this format. Always nice to steal a Planeswalker or steal a Consecrated Sphinx, so that's of note. Consecrated Sphinx is the best creature in the format. This card will win games if not dealt with, so it's really important. Sunblast Angel, just fantastic in this format as well. It's really good against White Weenie. If you can survive till turn 6 or turn 7, whatever you need to play the Sunblast Angel, he really ruins them a lot of ways. Even if they have a dispatch for him, he's still done his job. And most of the time, he can actually take them off Metalcraft to make their dispatch a lot worse. Let's see here. I mean, if they dispatch this guy on the turn you play him, he will kill himself because he destroys all tapped creatures. But he might free up the way for Consecrated Sphinx to not be dispatched later if you kill enough artifacts of theirs, and they don't have enough Inkmoth Nexuses to turn on Metalcraft. Karna Liberated is not good against White Weenie in my opinion, but at the same time, he's like Volition Reigns against any other deck. He's just a beating if he's not dealt with immediately, generating card advantage every turn with this guy, and dealing with any problem permanent at all. So the main deck is pretty self-explanatory. I forgot to mention the draw card package and the land search package. You're using the Wellsprings, 3 of each, and Phyrexia's Core. It essentially turns your Wellsprings into 4 mana plus 1 card advantage spells. You also gain a life off of them. The nice thing about these over Tezzeret's Gambit is you can play it on turn 2, as opposed to Tezzeret Gambit where you have to play it on turn 3, and you're losing 2 life as well, and not being able to keep up Stoic Rebuttal. So that's nice. The last 2 mana on this part of it is spin at instant speed, so that's always nice. 26 lands, the mana base is pretty horrible because, let's face it, block mana bases are horrible if they're not monocolored. But you gotta do what you gotta do. Dismember, as I was talking about earlier, just insane. I love this card. I never use the black mana for it apparently. I always call it Swords to Owl Shares. But this card's just fantastic. So let's move on to the sideboard. The main deck was taken from a daily, but I changed up the sideboard with my own flares here. The 4 Hero Blade Holds are standard. This is not my flare, but this card's just insane in any matchups where your opponent's slow. If you can drop this guy, it eats through Planeswalkers like nothing else. Hopefully you can get it before Karn will kill it. But Tezzeret's got a hard time. Well, Tezzeret doesn't have, depending if he has a untapped artifact to make a 5/5, but if they try to resolve a Tezzeret and they won't have a defender out, she just eats him. Elspeth does not survive long. It's Hero Blade Hold. Elspeth can put up a little bit of roadblock, but it's a losing proposition for them eventually. So Hero Blade Holds 7 power. The first turn it attacks. Just a great way to get aggressive with this deck if you want to get aggressive against control decks. Usually, that's when you bring it in. You don't bring it in against anything else, but anything you want to be on the defensive, you don't bring this card in. Blue Sun Zenith. just fantastic for those blue matchups where you're both sitting on counter spells. Gives you a way to turn excess mana at the end of your turn, at the end of their turn, into cards. It's just fantastic. Peerless Mirror was a nod to White Weenie. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it. They have a lot of flyers, and a lot of times this doesn't do anything actually. So I'm not sure on the slot. Psychic Barrier is there for Consecrated Sphinx decks. Blue-white doesn't have really any good ways to deal with them besides counter spells, and this is another way to counter their creatures. A lot of people use Fuel for the Cause, but I can't stand the 4 mana on it, so I'm going with Psychic Barrier here. Revoke Existence, pretty fantastic against White Weenie. Kills most of the creatures or the Tempered Steel. Just what you want to do. Volition Reigns, bringing in the matchups where you want Karn and Volition Reigns. So against White Weenie, the most common matchup, I'll show you how I sideboard. I'm not guaranteeing it's correct, but this is what I do. I take out 3 Stoke Rebuttals and 2 Karn Liberateds and a Volition Reigns. Volition Reigns is really bad in that matchup since they have random Legion and Relic Orders. At least some people keep them in. You probably shouldn't keep them in against this deck, but I've seen them. And I bring in the 4 Revoke Existences and the Peerless Mirrors. Peerless Mirrors got up the ground pretty well. But as I was saying earlier, they have a lot of flyers, and sometimes the Peerless Mirror does nothing at all. So I'm not sure if I'll keep that. Stoke Rebuttal is not great in the matchup, but it's not horrible either. It's usually better than Psychic Barrier, because it can counter a Tempered Steel or a Dispatch at random. So that's important to note. I don't want to bring anything of these other creatures in. 3/4 does block most of the Tempered Steel creatures, but at the same time it's a 4-drop. Not what you really want to be seeing in that matchup. And it's on the ground anyways, like this guy's on the ground. And 4 mana versus 2 mana, so that's how I run it usually. Other matchups pretty self-explanatory. Against decks with less artifacts, you take out your artifact removal. Dismember's great against most creatures. Volition Reigns is there for matchups you want to be stealing their planeswalkers. I usually take out Sunblast in those in the matchups I bring in more Volition Reigns. Sunblast is not that great in control matchups, but sometimes it's useful. So that's how I usually run things here. I will see you in the daily.